the Adidas Takumi Sen 9 still, possibly even more so, the most niche running shoe you can possibly buy. As of the recording of this video, I have 28 videos on this channel. Of those 28 videos, 7 of those videos have talked about this shoe. 3 videos directly about this shoe, the Adidas Takumi Sen 9. Now I find that kind of funny because this isn't a shoe that I spend a lot of time in, and it's not a shoe that I particularly like very much. But I appreciate this shoe in all ways. Now, the short of it is that I don't spend a lot of time in this shoe because I don't need this shoe. I have faster shoes for me that do anything this shoe can do better. And I still do think this is the most niche running shoe you can possibly buy. Probably only matched by maybe the New Balance SC Pacer. But even then, this shoe may be more niche. And I don't think that's a bad thing. The niche for this shoe is a very stripped down, very fast, very dedicated 5K racer. I'm a marathoner. I don't need a 5K racer. And if I'm going to go race a 5K, I'm going to do that in a Vaporfly because that is just the faster shoe for me. So I don't need this shoe for racing. For training, I'm never going to use this for intervals. I've done intervals in this, and honestly, this is a flexible, fairly flexible shoe, given that there's rods in this. But the Adios 8 from Adidas is a better shoe for interval and shorter workouts. I would never use this shoe because there's too much foam. I don't want the rods in here. When I'm doing shorter, harder efforts, I want to feel the work. I want to drive into the ground. I want to feel the ground and I want to drive off. Like, I'm not getting that in this shoe because there's kind of too much foam in this shoe. And on that note, I know Adidas describes this as sort of a modern racing flat, and okay, I can go with that definition. That makes sense, but I would call this a super shoe. And just because it has a little less foam in it than, say, a Vaporfly or an Adios Pro 3 or any of the other sort of, clear-cut super shoes, doesn't make this any less of a super shoe. We still have a super foam. We still have rods or carbon-infused, a plate system in this shoe. This is a super shoe. And just because it's lower doesn't mean it doesn't qualify for that anymore. But it's still such a niche shoe because there's just so many other shoes to choose that are better than this shoe. Now, as a trainer, I don't train in this shoe because, to be honest, I dread putting this on my foot. It is probably the most uncomfortable shoe I have ever worn. Now, it is a race shoe, and it's a stripped down race shoe. So I'm actually totally okay with that, and I would expect nothing less. This upper is very good. The upper isn't the problem that makes your foot uncomfortable, like, say, the Adios Pro 3. That's a dreadful upper. I have a whole video on that, card on the screen, link in the description. But it's just a classic Adidas race fit. It's very narrow and it's kind of long, though not overly long. I'm still wearing this true to size for my normal US men's size 9 shoe. But there's just not a lot of room in this shoe. So for a race application, great, awesome. I want this shoe to just hug my foot, be part of my body, and I don't care if it hurts because it's a race. I'm willing to put everything on the line for that race and just crush it in the race. That's what this shoe does. But for training, you need something that's a little bit more accommodating. And again, a Vaporfly is just a much more accommodating shoe. But if I'm sticking with an Adidas, Adios 8 now is a much better shoe for workouts, shorter runs, easy runs. This is a shoe that doesn't do easy runs, even long runs. I'm going to get more benefit from a training stimulus standpoint, but I'm also going to get more use out of something like Adios 8 over this shoe. So as long as a tempo trainer, something, again, that I would use in maybe marathon training, I would never pick this shoe. If I want something that's super aggressive for like quick tempo work, I may pick an Adios A, but there's things like the A6 Magic Speed 3. There's a bunch of other options. A Vaporfly. And if I want longer stuff, I would never do that in this. I'm going to go with the Adios Pro 3, or I'm going to go with a Vaporfly, even an Alphafly. There's so many other options. So from a training perspective, I don't have any use for this. But I actually really appreciate this shoe. I love that this shoe exists, and I love what Adidas has done with this shoe. And I think this is a beautiful sort of piece of history for Adidas, because the Takumi Sen line is very important. I talked a lot about that in my first impressions video of this, card on the screen, link in the description. But at the same time, I think this shoe is an important sort of step for Adidas and where they're probably headed with their racing line. I think we've seen a lot of that in the 2023 Adizero shoes that have come out so far. So what is the future for the Takumi Sen? And I think that's really the more interesting question here. For the Takumi Sen 8.9, if we look at this shoe right now in June 2023, this is actually a fairly old shoe. We could say this shoe is 2 to 3 years old at this point if we include testing and development. This is really all that's left of the Adios Pro 2. It is meant to be that more versatile shoe racer for the Adizero line that frees up the Adios Pro to be the ultimate marathon shoe, the ultimate legal marathon shoe. And then there is the Prime X, and the Prime X is sort of this hyper shoe test bed that I know Adidas is getting a lot of great data out of, and it's going to trickle down into the Takumi Sen 10 and probably the Adios Pro, probably 5, maybe not the 4, but it's going to help both these shoes go forward, but that's not a serious racing shoe. And Adidas will never fully back the Prime X. It's always going to be the Adios Pro because that's the legal shoe. Now, a legal shoe within World Athletics regulations doesn't matter to us as kind of normal runners, but for pros and elites, it really does. And for a brand to put everything behind that one shoe, they're never going to do that with the Prime X. It's always going to be the Adios Pro. So this shoe, as I've talked about in numerous videos, and the video where I go in depth on that, card on the screen, link in the description, this shoe freed up the Adios Pro line to be the ultimate marathon racing shoe. Then this has become the everything else racing shoe. And really, the Takumi Sen 8.9 has been a companion to the Adios Pro series. But I think the future of this is this shoe, I don't think is going to stay a companion. I think this shoe is going to evolve into something parallel to the Adios Pro. What is the future for the Takumi Sen 10? Well, I think there's going to be 3 main things that Adidas addresses with this shoe. I think 1, you're going to get more foam. I think you're probably going to get up to the 40 mil stack, and I think you're probably going to get carbon energy rods that go from the heel to the toe. I think you're going to get the full Energy Rod 2.0 system. We've seen that already coming to the Boston 12. I think it's going to come to this, the Takumi Sen 10. The last thing I think we're going to get will be the new last, or the mold that Adidas is using that has the wider forefoot and is a little shorter, the sort of modern Adidas last. The Adios 8 and the Adios Pro 3 both have that last. And to a lesser degree, the Boston 12 also has that more generous forefoot, which makes the shoe still a good fit, still good lockdown, but it's just more accommodating for more uses. So the more foam, the higher stack, the carbon Energy Rods 2.0 system, and the wider last, I think is going to now position the Takumi Sen 10 to be something that parallels the Adios Pro. Kind of like what Nike's doing with the Vaporfly and the Alphafly series, where the Alphafly is the ultimate marathon racer, and then the Vaporfly is the everything racer, including the marathon. So for some runners, myself included, I can make the Vaporfly work for me for really any type of racing. I'm also the type of runner who wants one race shoe for kind of every discipline. Not every runner can do that nor wants to do that, but maybe I'm lucky. I can run every type of race distance, including the marathon, comfortably and fast in a Vaporfly. I'm happy the AlphaFly exists, but I don't really like the AlphaFly 1 or 2. I'm excited about the 3, but we'll see where that's going. If we're sticking with an Adidas, the Adios Pro 3 into 4, eventually 5, Adidas has stated numerous times that is the ultimate marathon racer for them. Whereas now the Takumi Sen, I think, has space, particularly with where Adidas has gone with some of their technology. And we've seen this integrated into the Boston 12 and the Adios 8, the wider forefoot, more stack, the Energy Rods 2.0 system. We've seen that already in the 2023 shoes. I think that's going to allow Adidas to turn the Takumi Sen into their everything racer, sort of go back to the Adios Pro 2, which I never ran in it, but I've watched a lot of reviews on it, and I know not everyone loved it, but I know the Adios Pro 2 was very versatile. But I think the Adidas engineers probably thought they made too many compromises to make the Adios Pro 2 the ultimate marathon racer, which is where the design direction of the Adios Pro 3 comes from. But this is really, this shoe, the Takumi Sen 9, is really what's left of the Adios Pro 2. And I think this is the end of it. But I think that idea of a very versatile racer from Adidas will definitely come back. And I think that's what the Takumi Sen 10 is going to be. So as far as the Takumi Sen 9 goes, I'm done. I'm sort of making this video as sort of the final chapter in me talking about this shoe. I don't hate this shoe. I actually quite enjoy the fact this shoe exists, and I enjoy it for what it is. I, as a runner, though, just don't need it. And I would argue that most runners don't need this shoe. Most runners are going to be better in an Adios Pro or an Adios 8 as a trainer, not this shoe. So I'm sort of done with this shoe. I doubt I'll run in this shoe again, but I'm not done with the Takumi Sens. I'm really, really excited about the Takumi Sen 10, given everything I talked about. I think that's going to be a really interesting shoe. If we can get the versatility of an Adios Pro 2 back in the Adidas line, I think that's going to be outstanding. And I think a lot of people will actually be really happy about that. So I will definitely be covering, the Takumi Sen 10. I'm still going to be talking a lot about Adidas. There's a lot left of 2023, and there'll be a lot more Adidas content on this channel, but there's probably just not going to be any more Takumi Sen 9 content. And I'm okay with that because I think I've said everything there is to be said about this shoe in every way I can possibly say it. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you're new here, subscribe. You'll see more running content like this pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I'm always appreciative of. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.